Officially, it's there. We are live online cookout.
Bow.
Collins, Sophia, Jay Clarendon. We are here ready to give you our thoughts on is it selfish not to have children in this day and age? Is it selfish to only want to take care of your damn self? Is it selfish that when you reach a certain level of finance, a certain level of security, or just being a human being in general, to not to want to have kids because you just want to chill by yourself? Is it selfish? So we're gonna go ahead and let Queen Sophia.
I like.
Okay, so you guys, it is selfish to not want to have children, but it's very appropriate to be selfish because you only get one life. So if you're not the kind of person
Woo!
spend time with other people and cater to them and care for them and invest in them, uh then yeah, don't have kids because that's what it is. It's a lot of hard work, it's a lot of fun, but you don't owe your life to anybody, even your
Woo!
possible.
That's why she started off. Keep
Okay,
going,
so if
Sophie.
you know that you don't want to have children, don't entertain it and don't do it because you can't take it back. You can't push the baby back in. So whatever decision you make after conception could really weigh a lot on you. So you have to make big decisions like that responsibly and selfishly. I recommend selfishness when it comes to procreation. If you know you don't want children and you're not down for that experience, that's where I'm going with my, you know, perspective. That's my perspective.
Ooh, I love it.
What do you
I
guys think?
love it. Man, hey, you see, the show's over, man. The show's over because hey, that's exactly my same 100% opinion. I was like, yeah, well, damn, it might be selfish. I mean, I guess it is selfish to, like, hey, I just want to do me. Hey, if I want to just go to Belize, I'm just want to take a trip to Belize. I don't want to be worrying about the kids
Right.
back at home or this, that, or whatever. Or, hey, I want to live my life simple. Or make minimal money to survive and do my things and thrive and travel and do whatever, not having to compensate for the extra things and the extracurricular activities and the things you want to do you would want to do for your child if you had them. So I was like, and I was like, man, I don't think it's selfish. I think it's selfish to have kids if you're not on point with yourself.
Right.
Like
You
just
don't
because you
want
just want to go ahead and pop out a baby. Oh, I'm 29, I'm 30, I want to go have a baby. Like, yo, do we need your seed in this world? Like, do
Okay,
you have
that's not what I meant.
I had to
That's not
piggyback. I got to piggyback off of it. Then bring it sideways a little bit. Bring it sideways. You know what I'm saying? I just go to the other side of it to be like, hey, you know what I'm saying? 'Cause I didn't want to just straight up repeat what you said. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to the other side of it. Can it be selfish to have kids? That's my other side of it. It's like, yo, have you ever seen the movie Idiocracy? If you've seen that, then you'll see it's mad selfish for a fool to have a child just because they want to have a child. Because then the rest of the world has to deal with that exponential growth of your foolishness in the world. So like I don't think that everybody is really, you know, that we would benefit from having more of them walking around. Now that's my selfish opinion. Like if anybody out there has watched the movie Idiocracy, it's basically, if you haven't, it's a futuristic version of what happens if all of the intelligent people, because they're about their life and trying to figure out things, they're doctors, they're lawyers, they're educators, they're entrepreneurs, and while they're working on themselves, they actually don't make babies. But then all of the regular people and the lower and the below average and the average intelligence, those are the only ones that actually just out there just making babies and making babies. So what happens in a 500 years or 1,000 years of that kind of scenario happening? Well, what you get is a world full of fools. Right? A
Okay,
world
first
full
of
of people
all,
that
no.
just
That's so unrealistic, okay? Because
Is it?
yes, absolutely. Because
Oh,
how we weigh like intellect and creativity and capability, like it's just so complex. You can't say that this group of people is going to create a bunch of idiots and this group of people is going to create a bunch of geniuses, because we know that a lot of lawyers have kids that are crazy and dumb, and then a lot of garbage men have kids who go on to college and be great whatevers. So there is no way of like dividing the people like
I
that.
get it. Look,
So
I
we
get it.
can't, like, you know what I'm saying, right?
I get it. Look, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that just because a person is a doctor or a lawyer, they should have kids. 'Cause I know a lot of dumb doctors too. I've had them like trying to, and they just were good at doing work, doing schoolwork, and memorizing things, and then that's why they became a doctor. But they're not actually intelligent, and they're also not good people. I wouldn't say they're good people. They're just like, hey, I'm just trying to make money, right? So now, the perspective that I'm talking about though is like, okay, everybody here knows someone in their high school times that was, dang, that, that girl, she's stupid, or that dude, dang, man, he dumb. And like, he got another baby and another baby, like, damn. And we know that experience. And then the girl who's a valedictorian, or the dude, who's a valedictorian, they're not having kids. They're out here trying to work on themselves and figure out life and blah, 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 and do whatever, be a contributing member to society and all this good stuff. And then, little baby's kids, and they just multiplying and multiplying and multiplying and multiplying. Now, I'm not saying out of those babies' kids, you don't have like some positive people, but for me, I like creationism and evolution balance, and that like begets like scenario. Like, hey, look, my mom is intelligent, my father's intelligent, I'm intelligent. Now, when I look at my experience of all my friends who are intelligent, they have intelligent parents. And then I look at some of my acquaintances, I wouldn't call them friends, all right? So my acquaintances that aren't too very, very intelligent or aren't very kind or whatever, their parents were just like that. And barring one person, which is the smartest person I know, a dude named Larry Blash. He's the only person I know with a higher IQ than me, like on a personal level. And his parents, but he's like a Sheldon Cooper, an anomaly, where the like that beget the like wasn't, it wasn't really like that. Maybe it was some recessive, genius genes in his family. So as far as I'm concerned, it might be selfish if you don't really have anything to child, like to really have them grow, or just the time. Maybe you just don't have the time. Maybe you have the intelligence. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you have the goodwill, but you just might not have the time for whatever you're up to in your life. And then you go ahead and have a child because, you think maybe it's the thing to do. But you don't have the time to rear that child. So then you got these doctors and these lawyers having these kids, and they're going crazy because they didn't get their attention and stuff from the parents. So that's my thing, is it might be selfish if you're not really going to take care of that child, to make that child be the best that it can be by taking that time, not just providing for them financially, but also being there to motivate them. And if you don't have those skills as a parent to be like, okay, if I don't know, I'm going to find it and figure out the best ways that I can be a parent. You might be making a bad child. You might be making another Hannibal Lecter or Charles Manson or something like that. And just a dummy, just a person who just doesn't have anything to offer the world, and they're consuming resources and things like that. Now sound one of them like one of them elitists talking about this overpopulation. I don't think it's overpopulation.
You do, because now it's like,
I know.
We're weighing who has a right to life. I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
No. I'm saying I don't.
Look.
I was
in the reality. Go ahead.
I would say, again, you walk on a very slippery slope, right? When you see things of that nature. My thing is, you don't have to be in a financial state or even a mental state that one will perceive that it's best to have children. Some of the greatest minds on the planet came from nothing, came from bad parenting, came from impoverished conditions, hoods, ghettos, what have you. And so if we were to take that away and say that people that are financially fit, are mentally fit, should only have children, or people that we perceive to be mentally fit to have children, they may produce some horrible children just based on the fact that their children not growing up in hardship. And sometimes hardship is a thing that creates and refines someone to get to certain levels in life because they've been at the bottom. They know what it feels to be poor, right? Some people growing up with a silver spoon in their mouth don't know what it feels to be without, and they can't even understand it. And so their perception on reality is skewed. It's wrong because they only know one thing, right? And this is the problem that we'll see when we're facing certain celebrities or people that grew up in wealth. And when we hear them speak, it seems like they're off. It seems like they can't relate to the average everyday Joe, right? And that's just because they haven't been at the bottom, right? But what happens is when you have someone grow up in a situation that's in an impoverished condition or on the streets per se, their intellect, right? Their observational skills. Because when you're in danger or you're fearing for your life, or you know this meal may be the only meal that you get, you become keen. Your senses become keen, right? Especially that type of person that wants to get out of what the conditions that you're in, right? So I just think that we approach a form of dictatorship, right? Because what happens is then the elite will be the elite, and they will begin to decide on who can give birth and who can't give birth. And it will be a form of control.
Say they shouldn't.
It'll just be a complete form.
What did you say?
I said they the ones that shouldn't. Personally, we don't need no more Rockefellers. We don't need no more Rothschilds.
And
we don't need
but
y'all.
Hey, but see the thing is, the thing is, even if you say that, right? Even if you say it like that.
Yeah.
Some of these people that people despise have made some of the greatest impacts on the planet as far as the monetary system, as far as technology is concerned, as far as branching out and extending the human mind as far as it's gotten today. And so I just think it's, it's a slippery slope. And when I say getting to the thing I had put on the post, when I say it's from a biological standpoint, right?
Right.
From a biological standpoint, understand this. When people say, man, I don't understand my purpose. Well, your first purpose is to procreate. That's your first purpose.
That is true.
Hold on, listen to what I'm saying. Okay. At the end of the day, every virus, bacteria, creature, thing that's on this planet knows one thing, and that's to reproduce itself, to duplicate itself, so that even if it dies, it knows that it has left something behind so its species can continue. So what happens is this: human beings, although we are sentient beings and we're very intelligent beings, right? That can also play a fatal flaw on us because we think we're so smart, right? Or we think we know so much that we forget the very basic things of life, which is life, which is
bust that nut.
If right? Put it this way. Put it this way. What was a king's, when a king had nothing, when the king just had girls, how did he feel?
Felt like crap because his progeny was gonna like die off or something.
He would be eradicated. His lineage, his line will be gone. You have no one to take your place. Therefore, when you die, we're going to find someone to take your place and your legacy is over, right? So when
I say you should let the daughter rule.
So when a father has a son, or when a father procreates and he gives life, he knows, okay, at the end of the day, yeah, I may be successful in the financial world, I may be mentally fit, but at the end of the day, I know even if when I pass away, my legacy continues. That name is still there, right? Not when I die, oh, that's it, it's over. It's over for me, right? No.
I mean, I don't think that we should put pressure on people like that. There are so many people in the world that it's just not a necessity. And I think that you can build legacy in a ton of ways, aside from creating.
True.
Of course.
Because I think that's just not fair to the individual. I know some people who really don't want to be parents, like for real. And I can't understand that feeling, but I can understand that they only get one life. And I know I wanted to be a mom always. Like when I was 16, I knew I wanted to be a mom. So I know what it's like to be a mom as someone who wanted to be a mom. I know how stressful it is. It's not a job for somebody who's never wanted to be a mom. That's what I'm going to say. So,
right.
I don't know. I don't think we should put that kind of weight on.
I don't think I'm not putting pressure on anyone. I'm simply saying at the end of the day, the only reason why the human species is even this far is because we continue to reproduce ourselves. That is the only reason, right? I'm not a religious person. I'm not a religious person, but I tell people all the time, why did God tell the Hebrews or the Israelites, whatever you want to call them, one of his first commandments to them was to
be fruitful and multiply?
Why?
Yeah.
Because
gotta make more.
These people were nomadic people. They wandered around, and if they did not procreate, they would die. That will be the end of their legacy. That will be it.
True that.
And so at the end of the day, if a virus doesn't doggone reproduce itself, that virus then dies. It is over, right? And see, the thing that I find very interesting about human beings is we assume that we know the future. We're one of the only animals on the planet that has foresight, right? But just because you have foresight doesn't mean that you can see the future, right? We try to predict the future based on patterns, right? So once you understand that, you have no idea the state that human beings will be in 20 years. Anything can happen, right? Anything can happen where now human beings have to reproduce themselves at an exponential rate. They did it in Africa after the slave trade. Now, imagine men in Africa or women in Africa post-slave trade saying, nah, I'm good. I don't want to take care of no kids. That's the end. So we think too much sometimes. Like a bear, why isn't a bear grows up and says, you know what? I don't think I want to be a mama bear.
Hey, you don't know. Maybe there's some bears out there.
They don't do that.
That's like that they're saying, you know what? I ain't in heat. Back off, bro. Back off. I just want to eat my berries, man. Let me eat my berries
but you
and my salmon,
hold on.
yo.
Listen to what you just said. If it's not time to reproduce, it ain't time to reproduce. See, human beings don't have the same things or don't pay attention to the same natural energies that's going on and vibrations going on in the world, in the universe, right? Animals know when they can reproduce and they know when it's not wise to reproduce, right? If there's not abundance of food, their bodies won't reproduce. It won't allow it to happen, right? Human beings, we can reproduce in any state most of the time, right? We are adaptable in that
like viruses,
right? We are.
Viruses.
Think about this.
We're not like regular animals, man.
Beings are so adaptable.
That's a part of our sapiency to be able to make those kinds of decisions. Like,
yeah, but see, human beings, but listen to, yes, right? But that's only good if you're in tune to what's actually going on. Human beings are not saying they don't want to have kids. They're financially not fit. You got people that don't want to have kids because they don't want to take care of anybody else but themselves.
That's me.
Right. But Jamari,
Now
I
listen, I
understand.
take care of my queens.
Now, I'm not
I
mad
take
at
care
it.
of my
Listen to what I'm
queens.
saying.
I can
Hold on, let me
understand
finish.
that.
So I'm not, listen, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not mad at it at all. Like, if you feel that you can't take care of kids, then I'm gonna go what Sophia said earlier. Then you shouldn't have kids. You might messed up them kids. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I'm just simply saying, if we're gonna look at it from a biological, if we're gonna look at it from a biological standpoint, if you don't want to have kids, it is somewhat selfish. You just ain't no ends.
Oh, okay.
It's selfish. It's
Okay.
selfish,
Well, I have a question.
But
I have
hey,
a question,
do
Jamari.
you? You know what I'm saying? Do you? If I don't
Consider
want to,
that
if I don't want to
biological.
share, if I don't want to share my coat with you, and it's cold outside, right? And I got a big ass coat, and you can fit underneath it too, and I don't want you to be in it. It's my coat. You can't really get mad. You would say, "Yeah, dog, you selfish." Yeah, I'm selfish, but you ain't getting in my coat.
But Jamari,
I can
that's just
understand
not
it.
the world that we live in. We don't live in a world where babies are going extinct or we need more people.
I think we need less people.
It wouldn't really be like, you know, a survival or a biological issue because we have so many people already who aren't taken care of. So, you know, you get what I'm saying? Like that's not really.
Yeah.
And I got a question. See, and that's the thing. I actually want to go back and I want to refer back to what Colin stated earlier about if you don't have enough time for the child, if you're too busy working, you don't have enough time to spend with the child, and blah 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 blah. See, this is what happens, and Colin, you're gonna like this point. This is what happens when we rely on parenting from only two sources: mama, daddy.
Yeah. I'm gonna like this point. I'm gonna like this.
When you rely on parenting from two sources, of course, in some area, you're going to come up short, especially in modern day time, where now it usually takes both parents to work or the kid is being raised by one parent. All right. You got to understand, again, what I stated earlier, human beings, they think too damn much. Sometimes you think yourself right into stupid land, right? So now you have one or two parents fully being responsible for for kids that's going to go into the world. On your two very small perspectives when they enter into the global world. We know the adage. It takes a village to raise a child, right?
Yeah.
So why aren't we doing that now? Why is the pressure on raising children so much on the parents when it's actually the family that should raise children? Not just
hashtag poly solutions, man. It's poly solutions.
Hashtag poly solutions.
Get multiple.
Hashtag polygamy. Hashtag give me
Hashtag
Hashtag bring the village back.
Three
Bring
husbands.
the village.
You don't need to be in a polygamous relationship to have a village. And quite frankly,
hey, maybe not, but it helps.
School and are exposed to other kids will help them to develop using what they're learning from their parents and using their own instincts and developing their own way and their own, ideas.
I missed a little bit. I missed a little bit of that. Rewind that back. What you said, please.
The fact that kids go out to school daily and are amongst kids who have other perspectives and are from different backgrounds, that is what will teach them how to think and evolve outside.
That's bad, though.
Parents give them.
Yeah. So
that's
bad,
though.
Go ahead. Really... Take that.
What did you guys say?
No, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, the village might not be like literally there, but they still get exposure because they have a life outside of their parents. Anytime your kid is not with you, They are being exposed to something. They are learning another way of thinking outside of what you have been thinking them, giving them to think about. So it's not like all lost. It's not like these parents are raising these kids, so they're only going to think this way. Because we all know as adults that there are a lot of things that our parents had us to like consume and be indoctrinated with, and then we went to college or high school or wherever, and we were like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm not on that. That's mama and daddy thing. This is my thing. Like they're still going to be able to develop outside of what the two parents or one parent taught them, you know.
Well, see, here's my only problem with that is that yes, that does happen, right? And so the village does happen, but if it's not your village, like you inherently, if it's your child or your nephew or your niece, or some kind of relation to them or your loved one's kid or something like that, you have a more inherent want for that uprearing or that thing to be positive. Someone
Yes.
outside of your immediate circle won't necessarily have either, similar moral values or wants for your child. They may want your child to actually suffer. So someone outside of your immediate village. Now, let's say you have a situation where you got, the mom and the dad, but then you got the teacher and the da da da. And who are these people? You don't know the teachers. Backgrounds and all those things before you send your child out to school. We don't usually research. So I'm just talking about a normal, average experience, not the ones who go to private school and they research the schools and stuff like that, or homeschooling and things like that. So now, but if you have a loved one and another loved one, let's say you have, your spouse and your spouse has another spouse, you guys are a family unit. So you actually will want your family to grow in a positive way. So yes, you may not be there, but the other wife or the other girlfriend or the other husband or the other boyfriend will have a certain set of understandings that you guys will share. Like, hey, we want our kids to not watch these type of shows. Say, hey, we want our kids to watch these type of shows or not watch these type of books, or maybe read these type of books, or maybe not be exposed to this until this age and things like that. And then that other person who is now around your child for whatever those times that you aren't because of this modern day lifestyle, they will be supporting that rearing. It doesn't mean that they're going to be completely indoctrinated in the same way, but it allows for at least some semblance of some kind of like a vein for them to be, okay, well, I got this vein for you to branch off of. I don't want you all of a sudden be like, hey, if I was grew up Christian, I just want you to grow up in this vein of having some kind of spiritual belief or some kind of spiritual reference from your morality, as opposed to where you go out there and then they're teaching you how to be a Satanist, which might have a different spiritual belief, or and whoever chooses that thing, that's cool. That's their choice. But the problem would be now you've got a child that has all of these villages, but the village ain't necessarily for that child. Right. Exactly. And so you want to have your village to be for your child, because that village will see that child as part of the village, not as part of somebody else's village. And I want to go ahead and mess up that village and put little infiltrators and negative thoughts inside that stuff.
And I think we talked about that. I think we talked about that even when we discussed homeschool versus public school. We're sending you're essentially sending your kids off at 5 years old. And at 5 years old, they're still learning the structure that you're trying to implement at the house, right? Yep. And then you're sending them off, and now they're learning a totally different system, right? Where they're now told when to eat, that they're going to eat. They can only eat at 11:30 or 12 o'clock at lunchtime, whatever. They can only go to the bathroom whenever the teacher allows them to go to the bathroom. And they're associating and assimilating with children from all different ilks. Right. And so and walks of life. So when we examine that, your kid may befriend a kid that if you knew the kid and the kid's parents, you wouldn't allow it. But now your kid has to be in a room with children that you may not want your kid around if you had full control of that. And that's my thing is we're having these children. At the end of the day, Your family structure, that village isn't raising that kid. So there's so much onus being put on the parents by themselves. And so that may be the reason why that some people don't want to have children, because if they do, they know so much time is going to be taken from their life raising that child, whether it be a family structure where they know, hey man, I can still go on vacation because I got like 20 people at the house, my kid, and there are 20 people that love Lil Junior, whatever, and I can still go out to eat, I can still go to the movies, I can still do certain things, right? I can still me, and I think that's another thing. I believe that when people have children, and I don't want to say it's a misconception because it's still true, that when you do have children, a lot of time you lose a piece of yourself sometimes. And a lot of times you may lose a little bit of your own identity, right? You may be a person who loves to go to the movies every weekend, but now that you have a child, you can't do it anymore or as much. So now you're missing epic movies. I'm speaking about me sometimes. You're missing some of the greatest, right? You got to wait till they come out or DVD and stream them, whatever like that, when they're released. So I think that's that's justifiable, right? I can understand that. I can understand, hey, I don't want to give up, like just being me, like just, hey, I'm here, and I think that's part of the reason why people just don't want to have children, because they're going to not be able to go. They're not going to be able to go on the vacations that they typically go on once that child is born.
Yep. Now here's the thing that I wanted to share. Actually, now before you touched on this, right, from a biological imperative, that it might be selfish to not have a child from a biological standpoint. Now, I'm gonna go one step further, right? With yes, we are sentient beings, right? And we are humans, and we're like, the most intelligent species, or arguably the most intelligent species on this planet. I would say this though, from a biological standpoint, we are part of the ecosystem. We're not separated from it, right? Because we still drink water, we still eat food, and the food comes from the land. Whether it's an animal or a plant, it still comes from the land. It comes from the earth. From a biological standpoint, the impact that the human species is having on the planet, it could be selfish and even irresponsible to procreate, when we haven't created the solutions yet or implemented the solutions yet to have us be in homeostasis with our planet. Because, from a biological aspect, we're doing more damage to the planet than we're doing positive. So we're not even in a stasis, let alone a positive aspect. We're doing more damage. So it might be irresponsible having children at the amount of babies that we're having necessarily, when we haven't implemented ways to I won't say control, but to at least manage, responsibly the amount of negative to positive impact that we are doing to the planet. So we're killing off species because of human beings. There are species that it's not like, it's the climate that's doing it or a big asteroid came down. No, we're causing extinctions just by our influence, bringing an animal from here to there.
I have a question.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Would you say it's the majority of human beings doing that, causing mass extinctions? Or would you say it's a very, very small percentage of human beings that have caused most of the turmoil that exists on this planet?
I would say that probably a mixture of both. Like I would say that the ones who have created the systems for which we exploit, for instance, the ones who created the rhino trade, right? There are very few people in that actual rhino trade, right? Where the actual amount of poachers that are out there killing a rhino, the actual amount of people that it's touching the hands of before it gets over to Asia, and then they start turning it into dust, right? So that you can get your meat up, right? So now I would say that at first it's a small amount, right? But the demand, because of the so many amount of men in Asia that are willing to buy this, because there's a million people, that 1,000 is connected to now a million, and now a million rhinos are killed, as opposed to, if there wasn't that many people to buy it, there wouldn't be that many people to sell it to, and therefore there wouldn't be that many reasons to kill the rhino if that was the reason why they were killing it for money and things like that. So I would argue that the few create systems that and the flaws in those systems are then exponentially exposed, and magnified by the amount and the mass of human beings that we have. So a company makes plastic bottles, but if there weren't 7 billion people on this planet consuming them plastic bottles, we wouldn't have 7 billion, gallons of freaking, plastic sludge in the ocean. So I would say it's both. So, but like, at least we can get, I don't know. I wouldn't really know how to approach taking all the power away from those people that are creating it, but I do know how you can, cut down the supply, and that would be like,
all right,
just stop at the people, cut down the demand.
Here's a question that was posed in the chat.
Uh-huh.
I have heard kids say that their parents believe that as long as they are providing for them, then that is all they need to do as a parent. What do you think? So basically, as long as the parent is providing for them, that's all the parent needs to do. What do you think?
Oh, like food and like, hey, you got a roof over your head, you got food, you got shelter, I don't need to do anything else, right? I would say those are the type of people that shouldn't be having kids.
What are you laughing about? What are you?
Yeah, I mean, they've already done studies on this. Kids have to have everything. They need the emotional, the social, all of it, and the physical and the intellectual, like, to be well-rounded people. It's just, that's not right. But at the same time, that could be a culture thing. That could be an education thing. Like, parents think like that because they're not aware of these things, which, that doesn't make them a bad parent. They just aren't aware that there's more to parenting than making sure that their child eats meals every day, and that they have roof over their head, but that's not it.
Yeah, I would think that only works. I would say that only works if you don't want your child to ever be released out into this world and for all of us to have to deal with your child.
Right.
Like, yeah, only provide that if they never have to interact with any other human beings. But if they got to interact with other human beings and be a part of a culture and be part of a society, be part of the world, then no, that's not enough. That's not all that is necessary for you to be a good parent.
Let's take it a little further, because maybe we are just being very superficial with the question, right? So when providing for that child, say I'm I'm a businessman. Say that I'm always on the road, and so I can't always physically be there for my children. So I provide for them in a sense that they have tutors, nannies, people there to give them emotional support, and these are the people that I have vetted, and they have a interest in my children, not just the interest of getting paid.
Right.
And they've been with my children since they were small.
It's a no.
Okay.
No, I already know.
I would say yes. I say that's great.
I would say
no. The way I
that's great.
Up, your child will still feel inadequate about missing out on that specific relationship because of the way our society is already set up. So there's still going to be emotional breakdown because that particular parent is not invested emotionally into the child's life.
And I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. We cannot put ourselves in a mind of every child on the planet, right? So we don't know that child is going to feel some type of displacement
Okay, but we
Because-
do know because studies have been done on this.
First of all,
So not
first of
every
all,
child is going to turn
there's a
out
lot of-
awful. Of course not. But there is an effect to
so,
it.
so we're saying, okay, so we're saying this. We're saying this. There are wealthy people that live on this planet right now that their kids are being raised by the people that their parents have put in place in their lives. And so we're going to sit there and say, because now we got to go hit the opposite side of this now too. So don't forget, we're going to hit the opposite side where the parent doesn't have the amount of money to take care of their kids, provide for them financially, but they give them emotional support. And we see the effects of that too, because those kids grow up with all type of psychological issues. So it ain't just emotional support that a kid needs.
Right, of course.
Not just that.
But that's
So-
my point. You can't do everything and not have the emotional also.
So what I'm saying is, oh, there's another question. What if providing for a child, you don't get as much time to raise your child? Does that make you a bad parent? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say
no
there is
too.
not one way. I'm going to personally say there's not one way to raise a child. And I don't care.
Definitely.
I can give a damn what the studies say, because the studies are always changing. The studies are, of course, we know that children at a young age need love and emotion, right? They need somebody, especially when they're babies. Of course, they need somebody to hold them and love them, blah, 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 right? We understand that. But at the same time, you can't tell a parent, because I guarantee you that parent is going to look at you like, hold on. I financially provide for my child. My child goes to the best schools. My child plays the best sports. My child has all these things. Matter of fact, you can even argue that the people that are in that child's life is giving them the emotional support that they actually need. See, again, we put too much onus on the biological parents and not enough onus on the people that actually.
That's like implying rich kids don't have emotional issues because of their relationship with their parents, which we know.
I'm not saying they don't. I'm not saying they don't, but what I'm saying is everybody has some emotional issues, whether they're being raised by parents that's with them 24 hours of the damn day, or whether with parents that are not with them 24 hours of the doggone day. They're all suffering from some type of emotion, because guess what? You may feel that you're giving your child the emotional attention that they need, but that child may not feel that you're giving them the emotional attention that they need in the areas that they need it in. Because look, check this out. Right. You can play sports. A kid can play sports, right? And the parent is providing for them, is there for them when they come home. But say daddy missed the most important game of your life because he couldn't make it. But he made it to all 16 of your games, but he didn't make it to game 17. That kid is going to feel some type of way. He's going to feel some type of way. Or if mama shows up for the football game, but daddy can't show up for the football game. He don't care the fact that mama been at every game. He cares about that his dad ain't been at every game. So you're never, ever going to meet a child's emotional state or level.
That's very different from a parent saying, I'm going to detach and let other people do all the other things because I want to go do what I do.
He may not sit there and say those
scenarios.
No, what I'm saying is he may not say those words that you're saying. I don't think any parent say, yo, I'm going to detach from my kids. I'm going to have everybody else raise them. You know what I'm saying?
I provide the people in my children's life that will give them that connection that I'm not going to give them. And I just want to provide the people and the money and the financing. Like, that's what you said.
No, what I stated is, the person is working. So he's supposed to say he's providing this home that costs a lot of money. The schools cost a lot of money. This is his occupation that takes him away from his family. So would it be better for him to say, you know what? I'm gonna quit this job. We're gonna downsize and we're just gonna live like normal people, right? And then his kids gonna be like, what the fuck did you just do? You're taking away my Nintendo Switch, my PlayStation 4, my Xbox? What? Because you want to spend more time. Hell no. Take your ass to work. What you mean? I got to leave my friends and go to the hood? No. You see what I'm saying? Your kids, you don't know the emotional needs and state that your kids are always in, because kids get to a certain age where they're not even communicating that to you. That's all I'm saying.
Let me step in here. Like, you know, I've been having fun with this, you know, but let's just, you know, let's bring the relationship guru back in. All right. So let's just be clear. Every child, no matter who they are, no matter where they are, no matter what situation they've been in, no matter what walk of life, no matter what financial area that they are in, all have emotional breakdowns. We all suffer from some version of post-traumatic stress disorder. Every single human being has this experience. So that means if you are Donald Trump's child, you know, and had a silver spoon in your mouth, you have a problem with daddy or mommy doing this XYZ. And the same thing with, Susie Q down in the middle of Alabama, who, you know, she was a drug addict and whatever, and she had no money at all. She lived in a trailer park. That child will also have post-traumatic stress disorder and issues and things like that. So there's nothing that you as a parent will ever be able to do to stop your child from experiencing.
But that's not the point.
Letdown and expectation.
Of course,
now,
you can't.
I know that. But what I'm saying, but that's just the extreme version to make it very clear. Goes to work 8 hours a day, then spends the other 8 hours of the day, you know, or of their waking time with their kid, talking to their kid, doing this. There's going to be that 17th hour that the kid's going to be like, but you didn't sing that song to me, because it's an elastic principle, right? That is why everybody has the equal opportunity to be happy and upset, to be depressed and joyous. You know what I mean? Because it's an elastic principle, because whatever your experience is as a human being, determine your expectations, and life will not meet those expectations. It's just not going to happen, because your expectations have just been created. So every expectation is not going to get met. Once you have an expectation that is not met, that creates a breakdown, right? So if that parent is working 1,000 hours a day, or staying at home and paying attention to their child 1,000 hours a day, that kid's going to have a breakdown at some point in some situation. So let's just take that out of the equation, right? Because
can I ask you a question? Guru, can you answer me this question?
Yeah.
Because as you were saying that, you made me think of something. The average parent, right? Middle class, lower class, what have you, works how many hours a day?
About 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day, give or take.
And their kids spend how many hours in school?
8 hours, give or take, depending on if they have extracurricular activities.
My question is, you don't think your kids are missing you those 8 hours of the day that you're working and they're in school? And then the amount of time, hold on. And then what time do you get to spend with your child when you come home?
When you get home.
What are the next few hours of you doing when you come home?
I would say an average of 3 hours is what.
I feel like you guys are missing the point.
I'm asking.
To make a point, you're missing the point. The question was, is the parent only obligated to provide a roof over the kid's head and food? And no, there's more to raising a child than that. Clearly, kids are going to experience life emotionally outside of their parents. We know that, but that does not negate the fact that parents are obligated to give something emotionally to their kids, or it's just necessary. It doesn't take away that it's necessary for parents to do that. Now, do all parents know that? Of course they don't. And in the same token, that doesn't mean that a kid is going to grow up and be all damaged just because their parents were, I provide for you, that's all I need to do, parents. But we know that kids will be more well-rounded if their parents spend time with them. Every parent ain't going to spend 24 hours with their kid. You know, that's not how it's all set up. But people can still be a part of their kids' life emotionally, even if they can't be with them throughout the entire day. And people can still not be a part of my kids' life emotionally and be with them throughout the entire day.
Yes. Yes, I would say, look, the clarification would be like, look, don't think that you're a bad parent if you focused on providing the essentials for your child to be alive. and you don't have the time to provide the other non-essentials, but things that you would want for your child, which is that emotional support, that extra time just to listen to them and play with them and talk to them about their life and their problems and things, situations like that, and support them and do those things. I would just say, you know, the takeaway would be, if you have it in your ability to do both, to provide that financial aspect so that they can go to the schools and then talk to them about their problems, you know, spend 15 minutes, 20 minutes, you know, if you can, don't have that 15 minutes or 20 minutes to spend. And then they're like, nah, I already did my job. If you have the ability to, right, then go and do that. But don't feel that you are a bad parent because you have focused on making sure that your kid had food, you know, and a roof over their head, and you don't have all of the energy to be able to just sit there and talk to them about, you know, what's going on at school, what's going on in your life, what's going on with your friends and your family. So I would say, you know, if you can, like if you're in the situation, first do those essentials, because there's only 4 needs that we have in life. That's food, water, shelter in certain places, right, and air. Now, we don't got to buy air, at least not yet. So we got to take that out of the financial obligation. We got to have the shelter if you're in places that get cold enough that you need the shelter, and you got to have food and water. You provide those 3 specific things, then okay, you're doing the bare essentials that it takes to have that kid survive. Now, the next thing would be, can we make your child thrive, right? And so at that point, that's when you get the emotional support. That's when you have those communications about, you know, whatever spiritual development, mental development, emotional development things that will allow for your child to be, like Sophia said, well-rounded. Right. And so they'll be balanced. So they won't just be a kid that's just alive and then going out into the world. They'll be a thriving kid with an idea to thrive, and then their community will benefit from them being in the community. So, you know, I would say if you are that parent that is out there, you know, hustling and bustling, either maybe you're a single parent, you know, or you're a parent with a double household, but you guys are trying to do the best and to have them not live in the hood or whatever that scenario is, think that it's not wanted or warranted, and that it wouldn't benefit your child. It will definitely benefit your child. And yes, your child might suffer, you know, but your child's going to suffer regardless. Just do your best. I would say do your best to incorporate those times. You know, if like my dad, he worked all day. He woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and he went to work, and would come home at sometimes 10, 11 o'clock at night. Right. And I would be at school and I'd be at practice and do those things. But one thing that he always did is right before, when he came in, he would sing a song or read a story. Right. And that's all it really took. The time he had, he was out there on the roof or building a house or doing something. But that little time that it took to, all right, let's read a chapter in your favorite book. Or, hey, I'll sing you a song to go to sleep. No matter what that day was like, he would always take that time. Right. And so I became a well-rounded individual because that physical structure that was provided by his work was there, but the emotional structure that was provided by his presence on my emotional level, and to do those little things, even if we fell asleep, he'd kiss us awake. You know what I mean? And he kisses, and we wake up, we're like, "Oh, Dad, you're home. Hey, can we read a chapter?" And I remember specifically only one time out of 16 years that you know, of my child rearing time that I was conscious, did he actually not sing a song if requested? Because sometimes we're sleeping, like, okay, good night, Dad. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, that structure was great. And I had a great father, but I would say you're not a bad father or a bad mother if you're not providing all of those things. You know what I'm saying? So don't go to that guilty place if you're an individual that is struggling to provide all of those physical things and then also the emotional development. You know what I'm saying? Just do your best.
Here's a question for Sophie that was posed. Sophie, do you think that if a person is capable of providing for their child, but doesn't invest much time in raising their child, should have kids?
Not if they don't want to. Like, if you don't want to be around kids, I think that everybody has a right to reproduce, you know, if they want to, but if they don't want to, I don't, you know, like if you feel like I don't want to be around kids, then you shouldn't do that. That's just how I feel, because I feel like there's something to bonding with the person who helped create you. There's just
I think the question is more so saying, if they're only able to provide financially, but they don't have a lot of time to invest in raising their child, should they have kids? So say they want
Yeah,
kids.
if they want kids, yes, they should have kids. If they want kids, yes, they should have kids because no parent is perfect. No parent, to me, like saying, I'm going to wait until I'm financially ready, I'm going to wait until I'm whatever ready. If you have like a specific goal in mind, okay, I guess. But honestly, nobody is ready to be a parent. So when you've done the things that you want to do pre-children and you know that you want to have children, then have children. No parent, like I think somebody already said something like this, but no parent is perfect. I guess you guys were saying no parental situation is perfect, but no parent is perfect. Even the parents who wanted to be parents are not the perfect parent. So, I just figure if you want to have kids, but you have a busy life and you've already done all the things that you really wanted to do before having children, yeah, I mean, your kid will just grow up the way your environment is set up for them. My kids are growing up the way my environment is set up. So yeah, they should. If they want kids, yes, they should.
One thing that I took to heart, I was watching I think it's Kobe Bryant's Muse, and he was just talking about his you saw that?
Yeah.
And he said, just not verbatim, but he said to the effect that you can't be a great basketball player and a great father. You can't be a great businessman and a great husband, because at some point you have to sacrifice something to be great at this. And I understood that to be true. So I'm even thinking to myself, and I want to pose a question, because both of you mentioned being well-rounded, being a well-rounded individual. So my question is this: if a kid grows up and has and I don't want to say has very little interaction with their parents, but just say they have interaction with their parents, not like their parents are actually the parents are not being negligent or anything like that, but their parents, the scenario that I posed earlier, they have their kids in, private schools, they have their kids in violin lessons, they have their kid in different sports. With that kid, but has very little interaction with their actual parents, with that kid, I'm just in this scenario, do you think, of course, is not always true, that kid will be more well-rounded than a kid that just is around his parents and doesn't have those extracurricular activities, as a kid that gets to explore these other things, and is exposed to these other things in life, than a kid who is predominantly raised around just his parents and his siblings?
I think socially, like one kid may shine in one way and then the other kid may shine in another way, just because of their unique home environments. But I don't think that you can like say that one will necessarily outshine the other. It's just they will just shine differently,
Not shine, because we know everybody shines. Everybody got their shine. I'm saying, who would be more equipped to be in the workforce, or who will be more well-rounded when it comes to maneuvering in society, navigating through our society?
Well, look, I would say that the one that would be more equipped for the workforce will be the one that had the pops that provided all the stuff and let them go out and do things and figure out and try these things, try these different things. I would say that they probably would be more equipped for the workforce, but I wouldn't think that they would be as well equipped for society as a whole, as a contributing member of society, as the one who had their parents, specifically around, because that parent might have, I would assume that if the parent takes that much time, or the parents take that much time to be focused on their child, that where they would shine would be in the spiritual development and the mental development and the emotional development.
And
right?
don't forget, you're assuming that their parents are good in those areas. I once told a kid before. I once told a kid before.
Okay, but that's not assuming that the violin teacher is good at teaching violin. Come on, that's not fair.
Okay, that is not an assumption. Obviously, if you're a violin instructor, you're going to be proficient.
Some people are all kinds of instructors.
I'm just saying, like, who teaches the violin and it's credible, and you're paying them and they don't know how to play the violin?
Right, but if you have a kid growing up,
you're a hell of a scam artist if you can convince people.
Those parents are teaching them whatever they have, like as far as spirituality, right?
No, what I'm saying is we're assuming, and that's only that, because I know what Colin's getting. I know what he means by that. What I'm saying is his point will be if those parents are, that's their thing, right? Like if Collins was doing that with his kids, I will understand, like, okay, his kid's going to get all that. But I'm saying a lot of people that spend time with their kids don't have all of that, right? And I've even
true.
I've even stated to certain kids, like, hey, you're actually probably better off that your pops wasn't in your life, because based on what you said about your pops, you wouldn't want that type of person in your life. He'll be more detrimental being in your life than you not have. You're actually better off without him. So that's what I'm saying. We're not going to pose that the violin instructor can't teach the violin. We're not. Like,
well, let's pretend that the parents are instilling all these great things. Now what? Now what's the answer?
No, because no parent has all those great things like that. No parent has those spiritual, because again, the spiritual aspect of it is, and which Colin is talking about, what if your kid doesn't identify with the form of spiritualism that you represent?
What if your kid doesn't want to play violin?
That is also true.
Take lessons.
But that is also,
because you want to go do what you gotta do.
No, listen to what I'm saying. That is also true what you just said. What if your kid doesn't want to play a violin? And there are a lot of kids that grow up in those type of situations that may not want to play a certain instrument that their parents want them to play. In the same situation where I've talked with a teacher before, wanting her or his kid to go to a certain school because that's the expectation of in which the parent has for the kid, not the expectation that the kid has laid out for themselves. Okay, so when I just bring the instrument, I'm just simply saying that parent has the finances to expose their child to more things than the person who doesn't have the finances that can expose their kid to more things.
But I mean, guys, empathy and compassion are just as important to exposure. You will always have you can get exposed to things eventually, but if you haven't developed empathy and compassion, you're not really going to be productive in the workforce, because you're not going to be able to work with different people, different kinds of people, manage different kinds of people.
Like, no, you can, because
I'm going to throw the name out.
To like play sports and play instruments, you need those skills to be a productive human.
So I'm asking you, do you think that you need empathy and compassion to be a successful individual in this world?
No, but it helps you to maneuver when you have those kinds of skills, when you can be that kind of person.
Look, I don't think.
But if you don't know how to play violin, I mean, but I feel like you guys are like weighing them as if one is greater than the other, and it's just not. It's not.
I'm not saying that. I'm simply saying, Sophia, the reason
identify with humanness, and some people can't.
No, what I'm simply stating is what I believe that most parents strive to do is reach a certain level of financial stability where they can expose their kids. They can take their kids to that engineering, that STEM class. They can have their kid go into the sports that their kid choose. The kid decides that he wants to go into. If your kid says, "Hey, Dad, I wanna practice the reason I say violin, because violin is a very expensive instrument to practice, and so is golf and tennis. These type of sports and instruments, it costs a lot of money to do those things. Football is cheap. Basketball is cheap. Golf is expensive. So if your kid says, "Mommy, I want to play golf," and you find out it costs $200 a week to get your son golf lessons, compared to $70 for $70 for your
football and cheerleading costs way more than $200, honey. But okay.
Huh? What you say?
Football costs way more than $200.
Where?
Yeah, but not a week.
No. I'm asking the question. Where? What are you talking about?
Yeah, not a week, but it's a lot for one.
Football?
Yes.
Football.
Nah, it's probably the cheapest sport.
Yes.
I didn't pay a dime when I played football. Maybe they've changed it, but high school football is free.
Well, you're talking about high school, but I'm talking about like if you have to actually pay for your kid. Like high school is free, but
Pop Warner
if you
was
play any sport in high school, it's free. That's not
Pop
like
Warner, we sold candy to pay for our pads and equipment.
They don't do. You can do that, but no.
It ain't no 200.
You ain't selling enough candy.
So,
hey,
but
you ain't
I
selling
want
enough candy for golf lessons.
Okay, yeah. So say that you are, yeah. Okay, say that it is more to play football. It's then that quadruple that for the cost of golf.
Right, whatever it is.
Quadruple that. That's why you don't see people think that the reason why you don't see a lot of young black kids playing golf and tennis because the kids don't want to play. No, it's because the parents don't want to pay. It's expensive.
It's because they're not. That's not a culture sport for them. They're not exposed to it like that.
Why aren't they exposed to it? Because it costs too damn much.
Sport for them. Some people some areas are basketball areas, some areas are football areas. And then some areas are golf areas. That's just what it is. It's not.
No, that's not true. They're even seeing a lack of black kids playing baseball. The black people you see playing baseball, those are Colombian. I mean, what they call them? Freaking slip my mind.
Or not even American.
Yeah, that's Latin American. But they're not black. They're not a lot of black Americans. And the reason why they were saying it was because baseball is actually more expensive than all the other sports. It's easier to put a football field up than to put a baseball field up.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, that's different.
So that's all I'm saying is the reason why a lot of people are not exposed to it.
Because even if they were even, most places are just going to like what their culture is into. That's why they're choosing those particular sports. Clearly, nobody is gonna, It
doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter like what sport they choose. The point is, whatever sport they did choose, whether they were wanting to choose, if that parent is able to send that kid to do all those other things. Now, remember, the question was, the dividing factors were a workforce person, or a person for society, like a contributing member like to society. These are the parameters. Which scenario would create a better human or a better worker, right? So I would say that the one who's exposed to more things that finances allow you to be exposed to would be better at working and creating more finances, because that's the energy being put into that child. Right.
But now, why would child develop something like that? Give me some, tell me what would make that child.
Because that is the energy.
Having a talent and doing things. How does that help with people?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. That's the point that I'm making. So maybe what you're doing is you're equating a good worker to a good human. I am saying no.
I'm not. So, I'm creating somebody who knows how to work with people. You can be mad introvert and have taken violin lessons, piano lessons, and played golf, which is also
but for most professions, but for most professions in working, you don't have to work with people. Sophie, Sophie, for most professions, you don't actually have to be a good person that works with people.
I
You
didn't
just gotta
say
be a
good
person
person.
that
I said be able to work with
good-
people. Like have
Sophie,
in order
I'm
to be a
asking
good worker.
you a question. I'm
Sophie,
asking you a
what
question. I
professions
want
do you think that you need to be able to work with people in order to be a good worker? There are so many professions where people have no personal skills whatsoever, but they're
and
great in
that's
their
what I
profession.
want to
You don't
say.
need to
I'm gonna
work with
say,
people
Sophie,
and
you
like,
work in the area, right? And I want to be, let's be honest. We've all had jobs, right? We've all had them. So let's be honest. How many people that are in high positions at your workplace are very good, have very good people skills?
Yeah, the majority of the people where I work at who are in high places, to me, they have good skills. I'm serious. I really don't have a bad relationship with the people at my job.
It's not about having bad relationships. It's about
they are
analyzing.
like people. Like they're always around people and
I'm not saying I'm not saying that you're having a bad relationship with those people. I'm saying how many of those people actually demonstrate good people skills. A lot of people just don't have good people skills.
But they're still good workers.
Them do.
Be a good worker.
Take away from the fact that they're good workers. And see, the thing is, the thing that I'm saying is, when you want to, when it comes to parenting and choosing to be a parent, and the reason why some parents, some people wait until they are financially stable to have children, because they want to be able to provide anything that the child wants to do. So if my child wants to be a gymnast or go into gymnastics, I have the income to afford that for that child. I won't have to tell the child, no, you probably have to settle for cheerleading, which is still expensive. I know that cheerleading is expensive, which is still expensive.
It's not settling. Oh my God.
Huh? What happened?
Okay. First of all, I did not say that you shouldn't try to be financially sound before you have children.
I didn't say that.
Why you said that. But like,
that's not why I said that.
Oh, why'd you say that?
I just said it to mean when parents, some parents choose to wait until they're financially stable. I'm saying all parents want to be able to provide for their children financially. So my whole premise of this was, is the kid or the children, would they be well-rounded individuals more so than the kid who is not able to partake in the things that the other children are able to partake in because of the other parents' level of income and finance? I'm able to put my son in golf. Your son doesn't want to play football, but he wants to play golf, and you can't afford it. Or that this person
don't want to play golf, but he want to play football, but you want him to play golf.
No, that's what I'm not. This is not a.
That's a different scenario. So for you,
different scenarios. This whole conversation.
Oh no, I'm simply stating.
But you going off of.
Yeah, I'm just simply stating that.
Sophie.
If okay, put it this way, I feel that I'm more of a well-rounded person than most people that I encounter, or most Black people within my community. Why? Is because I am a military brat, and I got the opportunity to live in other places and understand other cultures and learn other languages. So when I came to Florida, and you're dealing with kids who never left their city, compared to a person who lived in Germany and had to speak German, right? That person seems like, wow, you're a more well-rounded person because, one, you understand other cultures. You're just not getting mad at, oh, I don't like white people because of this, or blah, 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 blah. You had to blend. You had to be with other cultures, right? I was in Hawaii. Some of my best friends are Filipino and Japanese, right? You had to be with other cultures and you learn from them. You got to partake in things that you wouldn't normally partake in.
Yeah, Jamar, right? You know what? I agree with you. I feel the same way because I grew up in an all-Black neighborhood. And it was really a neighborhood. It still is, and it still is a community, and it's an all-Black community. Sometimes I feel like people who didn't get that opportunity, they don't know they feel like that doesn't exist. And I do. So sometimes for me, I'm like, man, I'm glad that I grew up in this Black community so that I could see these Black people being families and being a community, because then I run into other Black people who didn't get that opportunity. And I feel like, I could tell by like how they view Black communities in general that they just have never seen anything like that. They feel like it's a unicorn situation. So I get it. I get what you're saying from a different perspective, but I get what you're saying.
All right. Look, as far as I'm concerned, as human beings, we got the bare essentials, right? The bare necessities, the bare things that we got to have in order to survive, right? And you want to teach your kids how to be able to provide themselves for themselves as a bare minimum. The next step in parenting would be to fortify all those other aspects so that you can get a happy individual, not just a productive individual, but a happy individual, an individual that is able to deal with stress, an individual that is able to have empathy for another human being and be a positively contributing member to their community and things like that, not just an earner, right? And so I would say, it comes down to the first thing as tiers, right? There's tiers of parenting, just like there's tiers of being a human. And as parents, bare minimum, provide for the food, or the water, right? The shelter, right? And then after that, then the next priority would be provide for that emotional, mental, and spiritual growth. If you can't do it yourself, if you're a human being that cannot do that yourself, like maybe you're not there mentally, or they're not there emotionally, or you're not there spiritually, then see how you can either A, incorporate other people that are really great at those aspects, right? If you don't have the money for that, say you don't have the money to do that, but hey, maybe somebody that for free or for a very fraction of the cost would be able to support your child on an emotional basis, like deal with those problems and those issues. Maybe you got a person that's really great at stress management. You bring that person into your village, right? Bring that person, ask them, hey, I don't really know what to do with my kid. They're struggling with this, he or she is having problems with his girlfriend or a boyfriend or something like that. I don't really know what to tell them because I didn't really get good at dealing with relationships. So would you be willing to talk to my child, right? And you vet those individuals so that, the same scenario would if you had $1 million, to throw away just to be able to give your child extracurricular activities. In the example that Jamari gave, then you got all this money to be able to vet individuals and get that good violin teacher, get that good spiritual advisor, get that good emotional, therapist or a person that can actually communicate with your child in a way to have them grow in whatever aspects. So I would say, as far as priorities go, get the bare essentials first.
Thanks.
Do the things that'll make that child be a great human, have a great experience with their own lives. Because people that do negative things, it's because they're in a negative frequency. Like, happy people don't rob people. Happy people don't go and try and hurt people. Like, hurt people, right? And, angry people hurt people and spread that anger. So if you can teach your child to be able to, if you don't know how to, but to find and seek someone in your community that can, even outside of your community, because hey, we got internet now. So if you don't have a computer, that's fine. You can go to the library, and if you can't get to the library, you're not even talking. You're not even hearing this conversation anyway. So for the people who are hearing this conversation, if you know that you're lacking in certain areas, right? I know I'm lacking in certain areas. So if I was going to have a child, and I've told women that want to have children with me, I've told them this. Like, listen, if you want to have I am emotionally prepared. I am spiritually prepared to have a child, and I'm mentally prepared to have a child. I'm not financially prepared to have a child. So if you want to have a child, understand that you have to be the one. You're agreeing, because I'm choosing what I want to be able to provide for that child. So you're agreeing to be the financial provider for that child, and I'll do all the other stuff. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't want that, then that's okay. That's okay. I'm not mad at you. I'm not angry at you. If you don't want that, but it's like I'll be a sperm donor, but I'll also be that kid wants. But I am not going to be, financially responsible for that child. And that is why I don't have children. You know what I'm saying? So this is what I want to do for my life. You know what I mean? So that aspect, it just makes it practical. If we start to incorporate other possibilities into our mindset of what could work as opposed to what's good and what's bad and what's right and what's wrong, we get other scenarios that might work. There was 2 women that want me to have their children. And the moment and they know that all they have to do.
I gotta clap my boy, dog. My boy said, listen, I'm gonna be there for him emotionally, but I ain't paying for that jet.
You're stupid. It's just, I'm just saying. Here's the thing. Here's the reason why for me that works.
Not that he wouldn't financially invest, right? You're just saying that your situation is that
I'm saying, look, if I have money, I'm going to spend it on my child. But if I don't have money and my child needs something, I'm not the one that's obligated. I'm like, hey, if you want to have that child, because I don't really want to have a child, but I'm open to having a child. You get that?
So if you ask Collins the right question. Ask Collins, will his ass get up and go get a 9 to 5 for that shit? Ask him. I know he's gonna say, hell no.
What?
9 to 5. Would you get a 9 to 5 for your baby?
I would have to if I had the child. I would have to.
Okay.
I would have to because it's my child. You get what I'm saying? Like now, I'm saying I don't want to have a child, but if something happens and I have a child, and I would have to provide because that's just what my father instilled in me.
That's fact.
Right. So my father was there. Right. So I had a great father. So I would have to, for my own obligation, not because some outside of society obligation. I don't really care about society's obligations. For my own obligation to my own self, I know that I got a great father. So I would have to be an even greater father. I have to take everything that my father did and then multiply that if I'm doing right by my biological imperative. Not only spreading the species, but spreading the species in a positive way. So yes, I would, which is why I don't want a child, because I don't want to feel that obligation. I don't want to have to go out and do the 9 to 5 scenario. I would rather eat ramen noodles every day. Like I would rather do that than to be eating cordon bleu by going out and doing a 9 to 5.
I got a question.
Just take care of my child.
Collins, you are like you're the third, right? You're like the third, right?
Well, no, I'm the second of my name.
Yeah.
Of my name, yeah, I'm the second. My grandfather was the first Collins.
Second of your name. So you don't feel any pressure to have that number 3?
No.
And if hold on, and if you did. Would he be a 3, or would you just like start over?
I might give him the name Collins. I might give him that. Like I might do that. I mean, it would be I would go to my spirit at that moment. I was like, okay, hey, should I give this child another name? Or, because I would want to be spiritually led for that. I would not say mentally be like, nah, no matter what your name is, you're going to be Collins. And then the first child comes out a girl and I name it Colina. You know what I mean? Like, no, man, I wouldn't necessarily do that. And then now she feels like she should have been a boy, and then all that other stuff. So I would go to my spirit as far as naming, but I don't have an egotistical want, you know what I'm saying, to procreate. Like it's not there. I would be open to do it. I know I'll be the greatest father that I know. Why? Because I had the greatest father that I know.
I have an egotistical want to
yeah, totally
to have 1,000 kids.
Yeah, that's been something. But see, the thing is, that's been in you. Look, that's been in Jamari from since we met in college, like when we were 19. You know what I'm saying? He's like, no, I want to have another little me running around there. I want to have a bunch of me's. And I never had that want. That wasn't a drive for me to have another baby running around. So now I have had quote unquote pressure tried to be put on me by my parents. They're like, hey man, I want a little grandchild. I want a grandchild. I want a grandchild. And it's funny because for about 3-4 years, every time I talk to my dad, he's like, hey man, I want a grandchild, man. I'm going to my friend's house and all they bouncing their little grandchildren on their knee, man. I want a little grandchild. But hey man, if you have that, I said, Dad, I do not want the job.
Hey,
financially providing.
Hey, your pops would be like a good grandpop, man. That'd be like,
he'd be a great grandfather.
He'd be like,
hey, listen, I know that. Like some parents are bad parents, but great grandparents.
His old boy can sing his ass off, like for real.
Collins is selfish. Gosh, Collins, give the man a baby.
Look. You see, but here's the thing. Like for a good 3 to 4 years, my dad was like, "Hey man, I want to be a grandfather, man. I want to have a grandson. I want a little baby to bounce some money." And I was like, "Dad, I don't want. Look, you were a great dad to me, so I would have to be a great dad to my kid, and therefore I would have to be doing work that I don't want to do. You know, doing extra stuff, providing extra stuff, just so that I could have for me and for my child. And I don't really want to do that." He's like, "Look, man, look, man, don't worry about that. You just have the kid." And I'll help you. You know what I'm saying? I'll work and I'll help you. And I was like, Dad, that's all good and dandy. But with them, you'll be grandpa at that point. And if you see, you know what, Collins? Nah, man, I feel like chilling today, man. I'm not working, you know, then I'll be like, "But Dad, you said," he said, "Hey, but that's your son, kid. That's on you." You know what I mean? Like, no. And so the last year we went to Grenada, right? In August. And I'm saying, and see, the thing is, at his house in South Carolina, you know, my stepmom adopted this baby, you know, from some child at church that had a baby that wasn't ready to be a parent and didn't want to take care of that kid. And so now my stepmom took the child in, and the kid is running around just having fun and going to parties and clubs and stuff like that. And then the baby is now, you know, my stepmom's child. It's not my little sister's little sister, right? Now, here's a scenario though. My dad kind of got a version of that, of the little baby to, "Oh, hey, bouncing and da-da-da-da, blah, 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 blah." Yeah, that's all good. But when that baby start crying, he don't want to be around that baby. He going to be sending it right back over. So I was like, "Nah, man, like, you want the idea of a grandchild, but you don't want a real grandchild."
Well, okay, let's talk about that,
So,
because Jamari was mentioning the village and how if people had a village, they would be more prone to becoming parents. But here's my thing about that. To me, like, to an extent, if I've spent my life raising my kids and then I'm in my 60s and I'm still healthy and I can move around and do whatever I want to do, I don't want to be bothered with your child. I want to be your baby grandma. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to buy gifts. I want to come over for holidays. Otherwise, I don't want to be a parent all over again. So, like, I don't feel like the village should have to suffer because, you know, somebody had a baby.
Right.
I already suffer for my mistakes. That's not fair. Then now I have to also suffer for your mistakes. So I don't know about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get the concept, but I don't think you're obligated to like help raise a kid.
That wouldn't be a village. That would be his grand. That would
be what?
Yeah, that would just be his dad. You know what I'm saying? But see, the thing is, that's what I was saying. I was like, "Yo, Dad, I don't want to have a kid. Like, you want me to have a kid? Are you gonna take care of that kid on the day? You know, are you gonna be the one financially obligated, just like you were with me? Or do you want to do that? Do you want to keep working until you're 70, 80 years old when that child's 18 or whatever? You don't want to do that, Dad. Let's be real."
But Colin, tell the truth. If you were in Grenada, that would be a different story, because it wouldn't just be your
different story.
There'll be a whole bunch of people. Like, that's what I mean by village.
Like, it'll be completely it'll be completely different. I can have a baby in Grenada.
Because let me tell you,
in Grenada,
look, people take advantage of their village. Sometimes, to me, I feel like people take advantage of the fact that they know mama gonna do it, daddy gonna do it, sister gonna do it. You know, like, no, I'm suffering for my mistakes. I'm not about to suffer for my mistakes and your mistakes. Like, no.
Because, you know, in the village, you know, take families, for example, there's always different generations living life at different times.
In the house.
So you'll have people that want to be around babies. They're like, they can't have babies anymore. They're most of the time, they're up early anyway. Because, you know, when you get old, you only sleep like 3 hours of the day and you're up walking around. Right. And so a lot of times they want something or someone to be around and have a conversation with them. And then, then when the 40-year-old comes home, that he's chilling, he wants to chill with the kids. So there's always that, you know, nobody ever just gets, like, right now you're talking about our immediate family, right? So we talk about our moms, our brothers, our sisters. Yeah, they're trying to live life. They're like, I ain't time for all that. Like, I got 2 kids of my own. I ain't trying to deal with your kids too. You added to my day doggone household. Nah, man. But once they get past those different stages, once you be able to settle down, it's different. Especially, I was having this conversation, I told you yesterday at the gym, the Hispanic guy mentioned, especially when everybody in the household is moving toward the common good of the house. So nobody is feeling some insurmountable pressure to do one thing. They're all doing it. You know, they're all bringing in groceries. They're all sharing in the they're all sharing in the raising of the children. They're all, hey, uncle's taking the kids to the beach today. Auntie's taking the beach to the kids to the beach tomorrow. So it's all a really and that's when you discovered that the most important thing is family, not anything outside of the family, not the corporate ladder, not the 6-figure income. They're going to get there because they have the family. Matter of fact, they already have a 6-figure income and then some in that household, because the most important thing is your family, that core. And that's what I mean by procreation, is creating that core group around you, where these are the people that I'm going to deal with. I know my family, right? These are so, and I brought this example. So if I could choose, and if Collins had kids, right, and we know Sophie has kids, right, and okay, I want my kids not to go to a public school and be with kids I don't know. I want them to be around people I know that have a certain standard and expectation for their own kids. I want my kids to be with Collins' kids and Sophie's kids and the people that I know.
Right.
That will be my village, my circle of people that I know. Not your kid being raised around a kid who mom is not even home, and when she is home, she's cussing his behind out. So all he knows is violence and aggression, right? And so when he speaks, that's how he'll talk to your kid, right? And then you have a lot of kids growing up in abusive households. And see, this is the crazy thing we were talking about earlier, Sophie, what I mentioned earlier. Sometimes having both parents and they being emotional there, their parents are emotionally unstable. And so they're already destroying the kid. So, and some wealthy people understand that, hey, I'm not an emotional person. I can't show my son emotions. I don't know how to do that. But hey, my mom's very emotional. She can give him some. And my grandpa, my dad, he's
right.
So
send him grandma.
I'll make sure he's around him, and I'll make sure I bring that money in. Everybody's taken care of, because some people know their own flaws. Like they know they're not good at certain things. And when you can admit that you're not good at certain things, it's actually better off for the child. It's actually better off. Mom need to get herself together before she even tries to input any information into that child. So there's a lot of different things. So and just to bring us back to full circle, yes, I still believe it's selfish, right? But it's okay to be selfish, because human beings are selfish.
Right.
Being selfish is not always bad. Matter of fact, being selfish sometimes is actually good, right? So if you know you don't have and you can also be let's put it out there, because I want people to think that Clarendon's saying have kids and just have them. No, you can also be irresponsible and negligent having kids when you financially can't take care of them, and when you don't have any goals set for yourself, and you don't even know what you want to do with yourself, and you're trying to bring a child into this world. That can be very irresponsible and very negligent. And it only
like it's negligence if a parent has a child and doesn't spend time with the child. They just like, for example, I forgot the name of this movie, but there was this guy. It was like based on all these different characters, but this one guy, he found out that this girl he was with was pregnant. She had the baby. And so what he started doing, so that he wouldn't have to pay so much in child support, he signed up for like partial custody. So what he did was like he would drop the kid off to his mom's house and leave money. So like, is that negligent to be like that? To be like, I don't really want to entertain being a parent at all. So, you know,
I don't think so. And I like that scenario, by the way.
Yeah, that's a good scenario.
And I don't want to just fully commit, but I'll fully commit and say I don't think so, in the sense that what I stated earlier, maybe he knows that he's not that guy. And some people have that fear when they have children. They fear that that kid is going to inherit their flaws and
Their flaws.
Fear that.
Yeah, that's a big. That's a
Okay,
big
you guys,
fear.
come on now. I'm talking about you don't want to be a parent. I'm talking about the person who actually has a child and then it just makes the decision. I don't want to be a parent right now. So I'm just going to, I know that my mom will take care of this child for me. So every time
Is that
have the child, I'm going to leave the child with her. Like,
okay, yeah.
even if you know that you're not that person at a certain, the baby is here. Like, you just gotta do what you have to do for the kids. You can't just be on some. Well, here, mom, you raised the
All right,
kids.
let me stick to that. Let me stick to that and not digress from that. Then, okay. So negligence to me would be that you left the child at home by itself, or negligence to me will be that you left the child with someone who shouldn't have children or shouldn't be watching kids in the first place. He's not being negligent because he's leaving the child with someone who raised him and that he trusts, and he also, as you stated, left some money. So, hey, mom, there's some money because you can take care of the kid. That is not negligence, right? No court rule will say you're being negligent. Negligent will be putting your kid in the hands of someone that's irresponsible and putting your kid in a situation where they can get hurt.
Yep. I agree.
Now, is he a bad father? Is he a bad father? No. But this is what I would say.
Definitely ain't the best.
And I'm gonna touch upon what you said, Sophie. So I would think negligence is this, right? In any circumstance, when raising a child, right? If your child asks for you to be there, or if your child tells you, "Hey, I need you to be there, Pops. I need a hug from you in the morning. Can you give me a hug?"
That's not your child's Come on.
I'm not saying no. Sophie, don't take it there. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's the child's responsibility. I'm saying when the child communicates exactly what he needs. This is why people are always or will always be bad parents, because your child cannot communicate or will not communicate exactly what they want. And so you can hug your child and your child may not want that damn hug. Right? Your child may want you to take them to the damn zoo or take them out every once in a damn while, right? But you give him a damn hug thinking, at least I'm giving your ass a hug. He don't want that. That's why you would never be a great parent unless your kid begins to be cognizant and communicate, hey, this is what I need from you. And if you refuse to, and if it's not like crazy, like if you refuse to do the things the kid says, like, "Ma, I need a hug. I need you to tell me that you love me. That's what I need from you." Then I would say that is negligence. And then I would say that is a bad parent. Your kid is coming to you, pleading with you, and asking you to do something emotional that they need. And it's not financially.
Well, I would say,
you may not be able to provide what they want.
Well, I would go along with that up to the point of just delineating what the want and the need is. You know what I'm saying? Like, just for the kid, you know, I would go with that. Like, hey, if the kid's like, "Dad, I need you to come to my recital," and he's like, "Yo, I got a conference in San Francisco that I have to go to, or else we won't get the real needs like food and things like that."
That's
right. So, you know, because the kid will confuse a want and a need, just like a parent will, you know, an adult will confuse a want and a need, right? I would say this though, like, can you, like, if you can, like, some things you can't do, like some things you just can't do. I would just implore each person, like, yo, if you can, if it's possible, see what you can do to create some workability so that you can give your child those extra wants. Because again, yes, the need is only food.
And the parent,
needs are on the food, but you know what I'm saying? If you can, like, and you know whether you can or not, you know, if you can not watch, you know, Big Bang Theory and actually just sit down with your kid and let them tell you about, you know, Zaboomafoo or whatever show that they watching that they like, and you could ask them questions about it and what the books they like and things like that. If you can, you know what I'm saying? So that's what would be like. That's why the same scenario comes. Why I would say, if you can, it would be great if you did.
And I would say,
You know,
and I
it
would
would be
say,
great
I
if
would,
you did. And you're not bad if you don't, but if you can.
I will piggyback off of you and say that's when the real parenting comes in, when you can sit that kid down and you also communicate what you can and cannot do because of
Right.
circumstances that may present themselves. So I would say that would
Right.
be the other aspect of that makes a good parent. Hey, saying, hey, I
Yeah.
definitely want to be there. I definitely want to go, but something else is taking precedence over that, and I won't be able to make it. But I would like to, record it or get it on video and sit down and watch, blah 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 blah.
Right.
But
Something, create some kind of workability. Yeah. Totally.
yeah. Guys, we're 2 hours in, and I didn't think we were gonna be 2
Awesome.
hours in the
Yeah.
subject.
I
We
thought
always
this was gonna
find
be a
a
short
way.
one.
We always freaking find a way.
Y'all
We always find a way, man. We always find a way.
We're giving the people what they want. We got to give the people what they
Giving the
want.
Um,
You know?
So let's make sure that we continue to get this done and give the people what they want. Be consistent. So I'm putting it out there for next week. We're gonna do another one next week since we've taken a hiatus. We had vacations. We had our holidays. We got to enjoy the festivities, and now it's time to
And
get
we had
back.
the creation of In the Mind of a Breed. We had creation of new shows.
In the Mind of a Breed
shows.
podcast, it's out. I'm going to be doing another one. Hopefully tomorrow. Well, not hopefully. I'll be doing another one tomorrow morning. Called Dodge.
And where can we watch it?
Dodge the Ordinary.
Where can we listen?
You'll be able to go to my website. I'm gonna launch it tonight. IamJClarendon.com.
Oh.
Tip top hit on the podcast, and also you can go to, if you have Podbean. That's Podbean. You'll be able to get there. iMob in the Mind of a Breed, and I'll just put the links and everything down below. So we're making things happen.
Awesome.
Baby. We're making things happen.
Making it happen. Hey, and for any parents that are out there, you know what I'm saying, I just want you to know, look, if any of these things touched on, areas that you could possibly grow in, and you just don't know necessarily how to, or you're struggling with the ideas and the stresses that it is of being a parent, you can always reach out to me. I will assist you and first, getting rid of the stresses that are there, because regardless of what's happening, you are most likely doing your best. And it's whatever shortcomings you may have, you don't need to feel bad about that. But what's good is that you have abilities and areas that you can grow in always. And if you would like some assistance in growing in those areas, and getting rid of the stress, getting rid of the obligations, and just being your authentic self and an authentic parent and things like that, you can reach out to me at myrelationshipworks@gmail.com. We want your relationship with yourself to work first, and then your loved ones outside of your circles and in your village, in your community, and in the world. So again, that's myrelationshipworks@gmail.com. Just say, hey, Collins, relationship guru, I'm stressing about these kids. I would like some help. Can you help me out, please? Just put that in the comment and ask me your questions, and respond to you as well. Just as In the Mind of a Breed, we also have mastery courses, mastery classes, a mastery show on Facebook every Monday afternoon between the hours of 3 and 4 p.m. Pacific time. And that's 6 and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that show is Mastering Me Mondays. Happens every Monday, and just be there, and you'll be able to learn all the different areas of your life that you can master in: relationships with yourself, with others, mastering your anger, your sadness, your jealousy, mastering your joy, your happiness, your creation, all of these things. So hit me up on Collins Peters. That's 2 L's, COLLINSPETRS. You can add me at any time on Facebook, and then send a little message, because if I don't know you, I will not add you. All right, so just send a message. Hey, I heard you on the show. I want to be your friend. I'll be like, okay, hi, friend. No, all right, and that's it. Sophie, what's been going on in your life? What can people do? What's going on with the shows and the teachings and the awesomeness? Let us know what's going on with Sophie.
Up, because I don't really have anything popping right now. So, yeah.
Well, can they ask you questions, Sophie? Can they add you on Facebook?
Sophie,
Where can they find you?
You gotta put Sophie on the spot. Sophie, what's up with your blog?
Oh yeah, the blog.
That's true. I know.
Mhm.
Inquiring minds want to know.
I
We're
got
waiting, Sophie. Your community needs you.
yeah, I gotta work on my blog. I gotta like do some editing because I have to make it people.
All right, so then let's go ahead and do a family
Hey,
creation, y'all.
forget
Everybody
that.
here.
Hey, what you mean people friendly?
You know what I mean. Y'all read one of my
Nah.
blogs before.
Hey, listen. Hey, listen. Listen, one thing I understand, Sophie, you just be fearless. People gonna have their opinions. People gonna have their things that they like and dislike about it. And you just, as long as you're being your authentic self, gives a damn. Be you.
Mhm.
Yeah, do you, Sophie?
You're
We
gonna
want to
grow.
hear your
Your
voice,
writing,
Sophie.
your writing is gonna grow over time anyway. The more you write and the more you expose yourself to things, the more you're gonna grow. But who cares what people
Yeah,
say?
got to start
Do you?
somewhere. Plus, we want you. We're representatives of the world. We're calling for you, Sophie. We're saying, Sophie, we want to hear your words of wisdom. You know what really lit me up today? I'll tell you this, Sophie. You really touched me because you were like, "Hey, you know what? I see where you're coming from, Jamari. Like, I grew up in a black community, and it wasn't a negative thing. You know what I'm saying? It was a positive thing. And I have paradigms that I can see that other people are like, yo, that's an anomaly. Like, no, man, the black family could be great. People need to know that perspective. Like that is a great perspective that you have that a lot of people don't have. That's a rare thing. You have something special and having a positive experience, with black families and black community and things like that. Not from a compensating of a negative experience, but really from a positive experience. So I want to hear you, Sophie. The world wants to hear you. If y'all want to hear Sophie out right now, you're like, hey, Sophie.
Aren't you
We
just
want to hear you.
Also, right now, if you want to holler at Sophie, go ahead and put something in the comments, leave your number, and we're vetting.
Wait, what kind of holler you mean, Jamari?
Whatever it be.
Also, listen, if you're not making at least 6 figures, don't bother. Okay.
In the words of Jamari, facts.
Right.
Oh Lord, I can't put I can't put my name. I can't even shoot my shot. I don't make enough.
We're just kidding.
But I'll be there emotionally for you, though. I'll be there emotionally.
What?
All right, guys.
Everyone has something to offer.
Oh,
I gotta try and I gotta go get this. Have my wife edit this stuff from my blog page, and so I go ahead and get this thing up. It's already late. I appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Collins came up with a very, very good thumbnail, a good cover picture that we're gonna use. I'm not gonna tell y'all until I'm gonna end up getting it done. Hopefully I get it done. What is January? By the end of the month, I can find somebody to get it done. I like the idea, and so we're gonna
awesome.
go ahead. Online Cookout will have an official logo, and we are going nationwide.
Boom, bam. Signing off. We love y'all, man.
Bye.
Peace, love, and chicken grease.